Hello, everyone, and welcome to BioInfo's webinar, Mapping the Modern Life Science Purchasing Journey, How Customers Think, Decide, and Purchase in 2025. Thank you for everyone who's joined us. Before we get started, I'm going to give us just a few minutes while we wait for any final attendees to join us. All right, looks like we've got some more joining us while we keep going. Let's get things started. So again, if you've just joined us, thank you for being here today for BioInfo's webinar, Mapping the Modern Life Science Customer Journey, How Customers Think, Decide, and Purchase in 2025. I'm Elisa Alvick, the Marketing Director here at Science and Medicine Group. I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. Before we give it over to Andy, I'm going to cover a few housekeeping items. First, if you experience any issues throughout the broadcast, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'll work with you directly to fix them. Second, the presentation will be available on demand after the webinar is concluded. You'll be sent an email with how to access that and the recording. Third, we will be taking time at the end to answer any questions. Feel free to submit those questions in the Q&A at any time during the presentation. We'll get to as many of those as we can, and if we don't, we'll be sure to follow up with you. Okay, without further ado, I'm excited to hand it over to our host today, Andrea Smiley, Senior Project Manager. She's got a great presentation for you guys today. Andy, thank you for joining us. When you are ready, please take it away.
Thank you, Elisa, very much for that wonderful introduction. As Elisa said, my name is Andrea Smiley. I am a Senior Project Manager with BioInformatics, and I am very, very excited to present to you some top-line findings from this wonderful report. First of all, I want to start by going over basically, the study goals and objectives, just to make sure that everybody here is aligned on what the purpose of the study was, what we covered and what we didn't cover. So, first of all, BioInformatics, we decided to conduct some market research to understand the purchasing journey of life scientists. These objectives obviously included understanding how customers are selecting products. They want to understand how these customers evaluate products. We want to understand how they learn about the vendors, the products, or any kind of alternatives that may be out there. We want to understand the entire purchasing experience from beginning of awareness to the end and what inspires loyalty. We want to understand those factors that influence how customers purchase products, what the institutional barriers to purchasing might be, and finally understand those customers' various touch points throughout that entire purchasing journey, those little tiny nuances that may push one person one way or another when they're deciding between different vendors or different products to use. To that end, we designed a survey, and that took about 59 questions, which included demographics, and took about 19 minutes for all of our respondents to complete. This study is a longitudinal study with data going back all the way back to 2019. Now, as a reminder, we redesigned the study back in 2023. So some data points are going to be from 2019 and some are not. Some are going to be brand new from 2023. In 2025, so this latest iteration, we fielded this report to about 739 respondents who were primarily members of the Science Advisory Board, which is a segment of the scientific community that has a demonstrated willingness to participate in market research activities. Most of these people were either in academia or pharma and biotech segments, and they worked mainly in the science industry within North America, Europe, or the Asia Pacific regions. They must have had a role in evaluation, selection, or purchasing of instrumentation or consumables within their lab, and they have to conduct some kind of basic research, drug discovery, drug characterization, or any other kinds of release testing, molecular diagnostics, preclinical research. It was pretty much open to a wide range of scientists. To this end, this presentation will give you a preview of the results and we hope to highlight some data trends here, but these data trends that you will see, again, only hint, we're only teasing, the you can explore them further. And there's in the report that we have, a top line report, and we also have this available in a Tableau deliverable. Now, the Tableau is a wonderful file. It will allow to explore everything down to the level of your particular company's needs and wants at every single touch point during the purchasing journey. So, going to review real quickly the different stages of the purchasing journey for life science customers. So, what are these particular stages? Well, the first one we have in the purple, this is the awareness or motivation phase of the purchasing journey. This is where the customer kind of identifies that I kind of need this specific product, and they kind of become aware or they become aware of this product, whether it's through social media, word of mouth, or various other channels. It could conferences and such. The customer, at this point, the customer has not engaged yet with a specific vendor. They're just only aware that they need something, or and they're starting to find the motivation to start looking into why they might need it or what they might exactly need. This prompts them to move into this second stage in the teal, which is the research and consideration phase. This is where we're going to focus mainly on methods where they gather information and how they evaluate those products. So they're starting to consider specific brands of the product. They make a giant list here of all the possible vendors that might have a solution to the problem that they're facing, and they start to compare options and seek recommendations. The next stage in the bright green here we have is the purchasing phase. Obviously, we are concentrating mostly here in this report on the purchasing methods. This customer decides to make the purchase. Yeah, this is who I'm going to go with. The activities at this stage include selecting a channel for purchasing. Are we going online? Are we calling the vendor directly? Do we have to go through a e-procurement, or what have you? After placing the order, obviously they're waiting for their product. And they're waiting for delivery, or they get their product here. Now we move into the post-purchase and delivery or service phase. Now, touch points here we tend to concentrate on are the customer initiated or vendor initiated contact after the purchase. And when a customer initiates contact with the vendor, it's for very different reasons than when the vendor contacts the customer for post-purchase. We explore the different interactions there, especially in the Tableau, and satisfaction with those particular interactions. Finally, the last phase of the purchasing journey in the yellow here we have as loyalty. Now, this is what inspires repeat purchases here. If the customer remains satisfied with the brand or the product, this leads obviously to repeat purchases and loyalty. So loyalty inspiring efforts like personalized offers, rewards programs are really vital at this stage. And we commonly use the metric in this as the NPS metric. And for note, if you're unfamiliar with NPS, NPS for some metrics, we're going to use the NPS scale throughout this presentation. It's an 11-point scale on questions that are summarized using, this methodology where the score is a percent of positive responses, which is usually people rating it a 9 and 10, minus the percent of negative responses, which is 0 to 6 range. And this provides, kind of a respondent level view of attribute performance. And the scores can fall in the possibility of a -100 to a 100 range. Generally speaking, if it's a positive score, it's considered pretty good. A score of over 50 is considered excellent, and a score of over 70 is considered absolutely exceptional. What categories did we examine here? The categories of products we examined were biologicals, which included tissue culture media, enzymes, and reagents. We examined data analysis software. We examined glassware and plastics. Obviously, we examined instrumentation. We looked at research or specialty kits. We looked at complete product solutions. This included integrated instrumentation, reagents, and consumables. So the all-in-one kind of package deal there. We looked at customized products, which was full-length synthetic genes, or maybe model systems, or engineered cell lines, maybe some animal models. Finally, we also looked at customized services. So these are things like specialized assay development or NGS library prep. Now, I'd like to give you a couple of top lines that we noticed here, and we'll dig into some of these details later in the presentation. But first, in awareness and for awareness and motivation, we noticed that purchases for biologicals, glasswares, and plastics, and specialty kits were usually triggered by low stock. Now, this hasn't changed since 2023. So we're looking at a bit of continuity in these categories. Secondly, for the complete product solution journey, it generally was motivated or started by the need to improve a workflow. So people are like, my workflow, I'm not quite happy with it. Is there a whole product solution that includes the reagents, the kits, the instrumentation that I can get to solve this problem? Finally, we look at new technologies or techniques. Those precipitated the journey for instrumentation, for data analysis software, and for custom products or custom services. When we move into the research and consideration phase, we see that those that were shopping for biologicals, custom products, glassware, or specialty kits were more likely to not reach out to a vendor directly during the research phase of this journey. So they felt that they were knowledgeable enough to not need the vendor's help when selecting a product at this phase. Uh, Customers of the complete product solutions and data analysis software, they were more likely to want to speak with people in technical support while they were making their research on these specific products. And finally, instrumentation and custom services. The research was conducted mainly through the sales department. So they wanted to speak with the sales of a vendor directly while they were conducting the research. When moving into the purchasing phase, we saw that customers' method of purchase was most often through email across most categories. We saw that custom product solutions had a higher incidence of online ordering. The product quality or previous experience with the vendor was actually the most cited reason for choosing a particular vendor across all the categories. For post-purchase or delivery or post and also for post-purchase service, we found in 2023, instrumentation and customized services were more likely to reach out post-purchase. However, in 2025, it was actually the complete product solutions and instrumentation customers that were more likely to reach out. And in the report, you can understand why they wanted to reach out and what they were looking for post-purchase. Finally, with loyalty, we find that those in the glassware and plastics category, they had the highest cumulative NPS out of all the different product categories in 2025. And this is different than from 2023. In 2023, it was biologicals and instrumentation that had the highest categorical NPS scores in loyalties. And this year, research kits, they had the lowest NPS of all the different product categories. I'm going to take a moment now, and we're going to just skim through a couple of quick demographics. As you can see, most of the respondents here were split pretty evenly across North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. We see that the majority of the respondents we talked to in this particular study were academics with 78% and about 22% being in the industry. Most of academics coming from a university and most of the people in industry coming from a biopharmaceutical company or a biotech company. Generation-wise, we see the majority of our respondents coming from Gen X, with Xennials and Millennials and Gen Z coming up behind them in the second most prominent demographic. And most people had a job position title of principal investigator or maybe a lab manager. So I'm going to dig into some real fine nuances in this data that I pulled directly from the Tableau element of this report. And we're going to go journey step by journey step, just to highlight some of the key findings and key differences and trends that we're seeing from 2023 to 2025. So looking at the awareness and motivation right now, top motivation, as you can see, for different categories. Looking at biological, what motivated people most to start the purchasing journey was low stock. 69% of the respondents say, yeah, I'm running low on the biologicals in my lab. I need to start the ordering process. This is up 21% since 2023. The top reason for being aware of a product is the previous experience with that particular vendor. And again, has increased again from 2023. It's up about 3%. Looking at complete product solutions, top motivation for them was to improve their workflow. This is different because in 2023, the top motivation was low stock. Looking again at the top reason for their awareness of this product, again, it's previous experience with the vendor. Whereas in 2023, this has changed. It was some kind of direct interaction from the vendor making them aware of this product possibility. Customized products, we see that the top motivation was new technology and improvements. Again, this has changed from 2023, where the top motivation was a new technique. We see again, you're going to see a lot of this previous experience with the vendor throughout the rest of the presentation, throughout the rest of this column here. But noting here that the reason for it has dropped for this particular category by 1%. With the other categories where the new technology or improvements was the main reason for motivation included data analysis software and instrumentation. We see low stock triggering also glassware and plastics and research and specialty kits. Again, this was noted at that first slide, but looking at glassware and plastics, that low stock, that number has dropped since 2023, and it's completely different for research and specialty kits, where a new technique actually prompted the journey back in 2023. And here it's low now at 2025. People are getting settled into a vendor, so it's just a low stock starting to turn into that routine order. Looking at I'm looking at also the change in instrumentation here for the category of instrumentation, the new technologies and improvements. 46% of the respondents say that's my main motivation for starting this journey here. But back in 2023, it was a new technique. Looking at here on that third column, yes, everybody pretty much says previous experience with vendor, but the one I'm calling out here is that data analysis software category right there. The reason for their awareness is they heard about it directly from a vendor. So 46% of those people citing that. But this, again, is different from 2023, where they were hearing it more often from a colleague. Word about research and consideration here. Where do people start their journey more often when they're starting to research a project? Well, we found for most of the categories here, their first stop in research was the vendor website. We see that the biologicals, complete product solutions, customized products, customized services, glasswares and plastics, when they start researching a product, they go directly to that vendor website. This is different, however, for software and research specialty kits. These two categories, the first stop for people in their research is scientific publications. And finally, for instrumentation, their first stop is a vendor direct contact. They're going to call the director, they're going to call the vendor directly if they have a question, or if they're starting to want to start to understand their options when it comes to instrumentation. I'm going to emphasize here a little bit about the website, and there is an entire page in the Tableau file that gives you a lot more details about websites, and they are vendor specific attributes there. So there are very important common website features that the respondents cited. They say that when they go to a vendor website, they want to see the complete product specifications. That's very, very important. And that's pretty much across all the product categories. They want to see everything. They want to know everything they can about that particular product. The second most important thing about a website has to be the scientific rigor and trust. So make sure that you have that trust established by providing the details they need, by providing the citations they want to see, by giving them references. Um, Other aspects of websites that were high ranking, but it wasn't across all the categories, was the website should be kind of simple, easy to navigate, and very well organized, kind of intuitive to use. So make sure your websites have that simplicity and clean look to them, and make sure that they are well organized there. Moving on here, we're looking at some overall satisfaction with the vendor contact. So contacting a vendor directly during that research phase, we're looking at a nice trend here across all the categories in those first two columns. We see that that NPS like score for satisfaction that I was talking about earlier, all of them seem to be positive. The highest one we have here is the 55.5 there right at the top with the biologicals. So overall satisfaction with if a researcher is contacting you directly, they're for biologicals, they're highly satisfied there. It looks like in comparison to 2023, what do these scores mean? Well, we see an increase almost across the board here for all the categories in satisfaction. So except for that bottom one with the research and specialty kits, we see that actually the scores have dropped since 2023, about 9 points. Um, Looking at the top direct contact while researching here, that third column there, we see a lot of categories here did not contact the vendor directly about, for example, again, going back to the biologicals at the top, we see that 72% of the respondents did not contact the vendor directly during this phase. We see that, again, has increased a bit since 2023. The ones that did contact were complete product solutions and data analysis software. Again, these two contacted technical support directly. And then we saw, there's also the people contacting sales directly. That was for customized services and instrumentation. The two that I want to call out right now that completely changed were customized products and customized services. We see that people in the 2023 for customized products, they used to contact technical support, but now they're opting not to contact the vendor directly for these types of products at this phase. When it comes to customized services, people have switched from technical support more towards contacting the sales directly. Moving on to purchasing, I want to go through here the most important attribute on their purchasing decision. And this is listed again. This comes from the Tableau. There is a quadrant analysis, and this data is pulled from that quadrant analysis in the Tableau file. So the most important attribute on the decision for most categories, it's the ease of being able to find a specific product. So again, this harkens back to that website, making sure that they can find the information they need on the product, making sure that website is easy to navigate, it's easy to use. The second one, most important attribute that also came up was the purchasing process. So is it a single step? Do I just have to call somebody? Do I just have to click it and add it to the basket? Or do I have to talk to somebody and then talk to somebody again and then negotiate things? So simplifying a purchasing process would definitely help here. This has changed quite a bit since 2023 with the ease of finding pricing information or product information was definitely more important back in 2023. You can see in the third column there that the top barrier to purchase was the institution's rules for pretty much across the entire category. And we see that, this incidence, though, the trend from 2023, it's dropping for most categories here with the incidence going down. Looking at the post-purchasing aspects here, we see the top reason for contact here. It's pretty varied across pretty varied across different categories here. Why am I contacting people? We see, well, they could just want to place another order. They could be wanting to set up training. They want to ask a question about installation or setup, or ask a question on usage. We see that some of these categories, this hasn't changed since 2023, but certain ones, there has been a shift in what the most important reason or most frequent reason, excuse me, what the most frequent reason for contacting a vendor post-purchase has been. Now, when you're contacting that vendor, there's a certain amount of interaction. How satisfied have these respondents been with that interaction? And we can see again with that satisfaction score in that third column, most of them are on the positive end. The highest satisfaction was with the research and specialty kits at 51.7. And we can see that was a huge increase too from 2023. So we see that that interaction, satisfaction with that interaction has increased a lot for that particular product category. The biggest increase, though, however, was with the glassware and plastics from 2023. That jumped up, the score for that one jumped up 22.1 points. Finally, I'm going to touch real quick on customer loyalty. Customer loyalty, we ask the typical NPS question, which is, what's your likelihood to repurchase? And or what we also asked what is how likely are you to recommend? I wanted to touch mostly on likelihood for repurchase here instead of likelihood to recommend. So likelihood to repurchase, we see mostly a positive trend from 2023 across most categories. The one I'm going to call out, though, is the biologicals, only a slight dip from 2023, but most of these scores are over 50. And like I said, we've seen an improvement. With customized services, that score, it still remained the same at 39.8. Now, real quickly, I'm just going to introduce you in these last couple minutes before we take questions. I want to tell you, in, excuse me, I missed a slide here. Real quick, in 2025, bioinformatics had multiple publications. Well, these couple that I'm going to highlight here actually will help, and they marry very well with the report that I'm presenting on right now. I would like to emphasize the publication Science in the Digital Age, which was exploring online behaviors of researchers. This report explored where scientists were naturally gravitating online using both quantitative and qualitative methods. So it helps you discover which websites they're going to, social media platforms, which influencers were popular amongst these researchers, and what the level of trust these scientists have in these researchers. So how does this relate to the customer purchasing journey? Well, it helps you build awareness. If you're partnering, understanding where those scientists are gravitating online, it helps you hang out in that space too, and help that you build your brand awareness in those spaces as well. The other one I like to emphasize that works very well is the 2025 customer experience report, which is also a Tableau element, and it definitely goes hand in hand with this report in evaluating multiple different vendors and different touch points that researchers have with those vendors. Also, something to think about. In 2026, we have a couple of new reports coming up. We have the AI usage in the life sciences. This is a hot topic right now, and we are continuing our trended analysis of AI and how AI is being built up throughout the life sciences industry. We also are going to be introducing a new report, which is Next Gen Marketing. We're going to discover what the future of scientific marketing and how we want to understand what the most impactful channels will be to drive engagement. And we're going to uncover messaging strategies that will truly connect with the next generation of scientists. With that, I'm going to see if Elisa has any questions. I know that was a very fast webinar, and I'm
Great.
sure.
Yeah, no, great job. We do have a handful of questions. So if the audience, you guys have about 5 minutes, I'll take about 3 of them. And again, as I mentioned, if we do not get to your question, we'll make sure to follow up with you after. Okay, let's jump into it. Where would something like an off-the-shelf NGS sequencing kit fit into your categories?
Ah, yes. Okay. Well, an NGS off-the-shelf kit, I would probably go that into research and specialty kits.
Excellent. And then to follow that up, what's an example of a research specialty kit?
A research specialty kit. For me, I was a I have a background in molecular genetics. A research specialty kit for me is just it you may it's a it has multiple reagents you need to run a specific reaction, or it includes reagents and media, kind of not quite an all-in-one solution, but it's, again, like just said, the NGS off-the-shelf kit right there, or a PCR prep kit.
Excellent. Okay. Let's see. If suppliers on the call could focus on improving one part of or touch point of the purchasing journey, what stage do you believe would be have the greatest impact or deliver the biggest return and why?
This one right here. Research and consideration. Look at your websites. Spend some time looking at your websites, making sure they have that all the information that the scientists want. Make sure it has that scientific and rigor and trust. Invest a little bit in some user experience on your website. Make sure it's easy to navigate. Make sure that they can find things easily and order things easily through that website. The website, I believe, especially in this age, looking at the demographics of scientists nowadays and their age gaps, with Gen X now being prominent, and millennials and Xennials and Gen Z following, we are an internet culture now.
Excellent. All right. And kind of following along the same path, what's one action marketing, product, or sales teams can take immediately to better support scientists during the buying process? Specifically, you shared opportunities for suppliers to strengthen the customer experience.
Ah, yes. So for me, it is going to be, actually, let me find the slide. It is here. Again, it's when they have that direct contact. Make sure your technical support and your sales, whoever they are reaching out to, they are well knowledgeable on the products that they are being questioned about. Make sure, you have the answers ready for that customer within one interaction. Whether it's going to take a flowchart sheet for frequently asked questions, but make sure that they are well trained and have that scientific um, that background that you need to inspire that scientific rigor and trust within your company. So the questions and the solutions are ready there.
Excellent. All right, we'll do one more. Is there data to evaluate the same data, but from purchasing departments in this field?
I'm going to I'm going to say that's an interesting question. For purchasing departments, I do not believe this particular report has that included. Um, I'm sorry to say, but it for unless you want to concentrate on just e-procurement, or maybe different kinds of internal purchasing software.
Awesome. Okay. Guys, thanks so much. I also got a question. Will there be a replay of this available? Absolutely. Everyone will receive the slides, the webinar replay. Again, if we didn't get to your question, we'll make sure to follow up. We got a lot of good questions today. So again, feel free to reach out if you do have questions following the webinar. And again, thank you, Andy. That was a great presentation and appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye.